Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Marriage Matters. This is Glenn Coleman and my beautiful co-host,
Tanya Coleman.
We're the Colemans. And this week we're just coming to you like we do every week. Just want to give you some tips, tricks.
I'm sorry. I laugh every time.
Hey, that's what it's about. Tips or advice. How about that?
Good job. That's better.
Some marital advice. Things that are going to help you enhance your marriage. Things that we try our best to do to ensure that our marriage is healthy and thriving and growing. We just want to share those things with you. One thing about marriage is not one size fits all.
Nope, it's not.
It's not one size. So, you can't just, take or ask, well, what are you guys doing?
Right.
We can give you some advice, but you take that advice and you make it your own. You tailor it to your marriage. Right.
You can't just take what we're doing or another couple that you're doing and apply it to your marriage and think that it's going to automatically work. You do have to figure out what works best for you.
Well, yep.
And the things that we share, how are they applicable in your marriage and in your life together? So
yep. So that's what this show is all about. And we always get started with the icebreaker, but I just want to ask you, about how is everything going? I always ask you that, huh? How's everything going? So we were talking before the show started, and we had a little moment.
We did.
So our oldest child, Miss Bethany, is starting high school.
Yeah, and registration for high school is on Monday, and Mom is feeling a little, I don't know how I'm feeling about it. It's not that I'm sad or what have you, but it's just the fact that the realities of my child will be entering high school, and which means that in 4 years she will be graduating high school. And
Noah Bethany may be 3.
Maybe I know
3
the
years.
way she functions. Absolutely.
So anyway, we had a little moment
about that, and just some other things. I think I am feeling a little emotional.
And look, that it's okay.
Yeah, I know.
It's okay. Because here's the deal: we're not perfect, and even I think a lot of times, even in Christianity or whatever word of faith or however you want to term it, a lot of times we look down on people who allow themselves to experience their emotions.
Right.
I'm not saying that you should live by your emotions and allow your emotions to dictate your life, but I mean, sometimes some things are going to make you sad.
Right.
Sometimes some things are going to make you angry. They're going to make you upset, and it's okay to feel those things.
I appreciate you saying that. I'm usually the one doing that sort of encouragement.
Yeah, she's the counselor.
I'm the therapist.
Therapist, my bad.
Yeah, either one. I wasn't correcting you.
She's the therapist.
I wasn't correcting him. I was just saying that's, another term.
People.
But, so I get that. And I am, I am into being in touch with how I'm feeling and why I'm feeling how I'm feeling, because I know that it is a healthy thing to process those emotions. And when you haven't had the opportunity to process them, then, sometimes the reaction, can be negative.
You tend to, I look at it as, it's like I work in the chemical industry, and when we're making chemical products, I don't actually work in the field, but I know not a whole lot about it, what goes on, but we have these pressure release, these valves, these discs that are designed to rupture at a certain pressure.
Right.
And because it allows them to rupture so that the vessel doesn't explode.
Right. Right.
And I think that a lot of times that happens with our emotions is, especially as men, is we tend to keep them in, 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 keep them in. And you can only do that for so long. And then one day they just erupt.
Right.
And I think, so that's the thing about being, maybe we should do a show about this, being emotionally intelligent.
Yes.
Your emotional intelligence. And in this, we're going way off topic here. But anyway, I just want to say this. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about how your emotional IQ, they were doing a study of like Fortune 500 companies and the top leadership in those Fortune 500 companies. And they were saying at a certain point in leadership, your IQ kind of normal, or let me say it this way, EQ is more your emotional, what's the Q stand for? IQ is like quotient.
Is it quotient?
Yeah, I think it's quotient.
Okay.
Anyway, your emotional health, let me say it that way, is more important as a leader at a high level, being able to get along with people, being able to work with people, being able to understand other people's feelings is more important than just having good, quote unquote, leadership skills. So anyway,
absolutely,
man, look, take the time to be emotionally healthy.
Yeah, and process through
things.
Your emotions. Because I won't go into detail. I'm not going to say anything else about it because I'm going to save it for that show. I want to do that show. Okay. That's a great idea.
Okay. So let's go ahead because we're like 8 minutes into this. Yeah, so anyway, so recommendations for this week is we're doing our book challenge.
Yes.
So this airs on Sunday, August the 4th. So today is the day we're starting. Tanya and I are starting this challenge. And if you want to join us, so we're doing, I want to look up how to say her name. I forgot. Ashanti Feld. You're smart. How do you say that?
Shanti Feldahan. That's what I believe.
But it's no A. Feldhan. We're going to say Feldhan.
Shanti Feldhan.
And it's for men only and for women only. So we're reading these books together. So here's what we're going to do. On today, August 4th, we're going to start reading. But what we're going to do is we're going to swap books. Swap. So today, I'm going to start reading this book because this book is a book about men for women. This book is about women for men.
And can I say something? Yeah. The For Men Only book was actually written by Shanti and her husband, Jeff Feldhan.
Yeah.
So she wrote the For Women Only book, and
then
they wrote the For Men Only book together as a couple. I wanted to point that out.
Yes, you're right. So I'm going to read this book, and I'm going to highlight things and make notes on things that are important to me as a man.
And I'm going to read this book, highlight, and make notes about things that are important to me as a woman.
And so we're going to do that from August 4th through the 17th.
Yes.
And then on August 19th, we're going to swap books.
Swap the books back.
And so I'm going to read the For Men Only book with Tanya's notes.
And I'm going to read the For Women Only book with Glenn's notes.
And then we're going to do that August 19th through the 31st. And then we're going to do a show and discuss what we learned or discovered in this book. So again, if you want to take part in this, you still got some time. You know, it's not a hard read. I mean, it's like a 200, not even 200 pages.
Right.
The book, and the pages are, they're really short. So we're just giving you a lot of time.
It's a quick, easy read. We just, people are busy, schedules are hectic,
right.
School's about to start. So all of the things that come along with that, we want to give people adequate time to read through the books. Basically you're reading through 2 books together. And then we want to bring people together to discuss. And we're going to talk more about how and when we're going to do that in the coming weeks as we get more detail. But if you're interested in being a part of that discussion, sitting face to face with us with that discussion, or joining the meetup when we do that, please let us know. You can do that in the comments for the show. You can do that on the Facebook page, email, or what have you.
Yep. So get involved in this, and
it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be fun. We're going to grow together and learn together. Yep. So with that being said, we're going to get into today's topic.
Yes.
And today's topic is I'm not feeling you today.
I'm not feeling you today.
Yeah. So
we have those days, huh?
Yeah, I mean everybody has those days.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, don't think, you know, I say this all the time. I used to like the Cosby Show growing up. Mm-hmm. And the one thing about the Cosby Show there was only one episode that I remember where Claire and Cliff had like a argument, but you never saw them disagree or, you know, she did more. Everybody used to rank on Cliff more than anything, you know, but you never saw. But that's reality.
It's hard to argue with an attorney. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But that's not reality. Reality is this: is that you have bad days. There's days when you may not like each other too much.
You may not be each other's.
It's going. Listen to me.
Favorite person in the
and
moment.
For some of you, you know what I'm talking about. But like for you newlyweds, you know, it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
I think it was it TD Jakes that said your little boo boo gonna get on your nerves one day. Eventually, you know. Yeah,
eventually it's gonna happen. When two people are living that close together.
Right.
For that long, eventually you're gonna get on each other's nerves. Let me just say
even you know, in the process of becoming one, it's gonna
happen.
You know,
and you know, we love God, we love each other,
right?
But you know, it happens.
It happens. We have some of those days where I may be giving him the side eye.
So I can remember now. We were talking about this. I told you we should have recorded the pre-show because we got really deep in the pre-show, but we wasn't rolling anyway. But I remember one of the first times I remember where Tanya and I really had a disagreement was when she was wanting to go and help one of her family members. And there were some other things that I was trying to do, and she wanted to go help this family member. And I felt like she was putting that family member before me. And it really upset me. This was, I don't know how many years into our marriage, but it really...
Maybe about 4 or 5.
I don't know if it was it that long?
Or was it even earlier? I'm trying, maybe not 4 or 5. Maybe more like 2.
It was early on.
Yeah.
And so, you know...
We could talk about it. You could tell the story.
Okay, I wasn't going to mention...
It's fine. She's fine.
All right.
Good.
So anyway...
Love her, she love you.
So and you know, now that I think about it, it was just, for me, it was selfish. You know, so anyway, it was her sister was going off to college.
My baby sister.
Her baby sister was going off to college.
My mom has 2 kids.
And... Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And we've grown up most of our lives with just the 2 of us and our mom. Most of our lives. And she's 10 years younger than me. So I always say that she was my first kid.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
And you know what, now I'm thinking about it, I think it was more, maybe it was even more the fact of the way you was like, I'm going. And it was like, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Possibly.
You know? And so I was...
Because when it comes to her,
it was,
you know,
And so I was like,
I get it.
I was like, well, you know, you didn't even consider me in this decision, blah blah blah. Anyway,
that was my era.
I think that was our first time we had to really. And some people may say, oh, that's nothing, you know, whatever. But for us, and so here's the other thing: you can't compare what's
a big deal in your marriage,
right?
Or you know what is a big argument or disagreement in your marriage to someone else's, because all of our marriages are different. All of our challenges are different as well. And we're all different people.
And the way we were raised and brought up, and our experiences make us unique in that.
Exactly.
So I had to realize that, you know, and I remember, one thing that I remember coming to this conclusion is that if it's important to my spouse, it has to be important to me.
Mm-hmm. Did you finish the story of what we were going to do?
Yeah.
I thought
she was going off to college. You were going to help. You were going
and help her move in. And it was like 10 hours away and stuff like that. So
I that's when I understood that if it's important to my spouse, that it has to be important to me.
And I also had to learn and realize that although that was very important to me and it was a monumental moment, for our family, we had a lot of obstacles with her even getting to the college that she attended 10 hours away when she was supposed to go 2 hours away to LSU, and she shifted everything in the middle of the summer. It was just a lot of emotions and a lot of things happening. But although all of that was happening, I should have come to you and and basically had a better conversation of hey, this is happening, I really feel that I have to be a part of this. Are you okay with it? Yada yada yada. And I don't know how I got to the point of just saying, oh, I'm going. Maybe, oh, I know what it was, because you asked me to stay for the reason that you felt you needed me to stay and sing on that Sunday.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So anyway, and now that I look back on it, it's like how selfish of that. How selfish was I? I was only thinking about myself. And I realized, but hey, that's what marriage is all about. That's what we grow and we get better,
right?
And
right.
And just all along, because I think even when we were dating, you were like, I always said it, like you were more of the mother in the family, and it's like I felt like everybody else was like really pulling on you. And I guess for me, it was like, okay, you got to make a decision. Am I your new family?
Right.
Or
right.
Are you going to still have to be the mother?
Right.
In these
dynamics.
Right. Because,
that's a whole nother show.
It's a whole nother show.
That's a
but we learned to work through that.
Right.
And again, I had to understand the dynamics of that situation,
right.
And how things had evolved over
the years, because we grew up in two completely different environments and ways of life. It was the way I grew up was completely different from you, and there were responsibilities that I had taken on at such an early age that it's not easy to just release those things, right. And even today we still have, some of those challenges, guys. It is still, because we're constantly growing, we're constantly changing. We're still married. And so as long as you're married, you're going to have those moments. We were talking earlier about times when, I may not be feeling you. We talked about, Glenn is very, very time oriented. Like it has been drilled into him and instilled into him growing up that you are never late for anything. And it's not that I want to be late for things, but sometimes I am occasionally tardy.
And you know what else it is? You know why I don't like being late?
Why?
Because I feel, especially when I'm meeting other people, because I value other people's time. I want them to value my time.
Absolutely. So I agree with that.
So that's one of the reasons why I'm a stickler. So if you ever have a meeting with me, please be on time.
Yeah, please be on time because
okay.
But and I was explaining to him that there are things that I have to take care of before the family can leave, say for instance on Sunday morning, going to church. There are things that I'm up doing at 5:00 in the morning and they're still laying in the bed resting. And when everyone is dressed and they're gone, a lot of times the kids will leave early, with Glenn to go to church early because they like to get there early. I'm still kind of wrapping up the morning. I'm prepping, for lunch in the afternoon and all that. So I may come in, to church a little late. Usually it's our soul care class. It's not the big service, but I may come in a little late because of the things that I've been doing. Whenever we are leaving out of the door together, I am usually the last one. Occasionally one of the kids will be the last one, but I'm usually running around the house, turning off the lights. I'm turning off the TV, all of the things that everyone else has just abandoned. We're running out the door. We're ready to get to where we got to go. And so I make sure all of that stuff is done. And so those are little things, but because my husband is very adamant about being on time, it is a sense and a source of frustration to him. So when he communicates to me while I'm in the middle of doing something like one of the kids' hair, and he's like, well, I want to leave here by 6:20, and I'm very aware of what time we have to be where we have to be. So I am doing my very best to make sure that we leave out of here in time to get to where we need to be. And you telling me that, it's frustrating.
And I always say, I'm saying that because sometimes I don't know if you are aware because of where you're at in the process.
Right.
And so, and I mean, even like, and so this was yesterday. So again, it happens, guys, but here's the key. You have to learn how to maneuver through those things.
Right.
Because if you let those the key is this, is you want to have way more good days than you do the
bad
ones when
days.
you're not feeling.
Right.
And the way you have to learn to process through that. So like yesterday, and I think you realized, because when I came downstairs and I was like, you were still doing their hair, and I was like, well, are the girls still going to the youth conference? Mm-hmm. And I forgot what you said, and I said, well, if they're gonna be there for 7:20,
I said, well, they
for
they
7
both
o'clock,
want to go.
Then we need to leave here at 6:20.
Right.
And you made a remark back, and I was like, whoa, I was just telling you what time we need to leave. So I think sometimes too, because and I always tell you this, how you want to take on the world.
Right.
And I'm going to have to readjust these lights next week. I'm sorry, but I'm getting a lot of shadow. Anyway, and I always tell you, baby, you don't have that to do. And I know you have to do the girl's hair, but I'm just saying, I think sometimes you get frustrated because you're thinking about all these things that you have to do.
Right. Or that I want to do
that you want to do in the day's time. And when I say that, you take it as I'm rushing you. When I'm not rushing you, I'm informing you that, hey, if we're going to do this, then we have to leave at this time because I don't want to be late.
Right. It always comes back to I don't want to be late. But no, seriously though, and I did realize that in the moment. Right. And I came back and I apologized. And I did come back and say, hey, if you can give us 5, maybe 10 extra minutes, we'll be ready to go by 6:30. And I think we were out the door at 6:30.
Ish.
Ish. Okay. But they were basically, we were there about like 7:03 because I was looking at Waze.
Okay. and see, Waze I use, so like I use Waze, so, and this is probably just the nerd in me. Almost anytime I have to go somewhere, mm-hmm. I'll put it in Waze and I say I want to get there. Like if I got to be there for 8 o'clock, I'm gonna put in Waze. I need to be there for 8:45. And then Waze and say, if you're gonna get there for 8:45, right, then you need to leave at this time. Right. I love that.
Yeah, I know.
That's so great.
Yeah, I do the same thing. But anyhow, those are just some of the challenges that we have sometimes, and just our dynamics with one another. Like I said, where he may get the side eye or an eye roll, or the tone that he doesn't like, because that high voice.
I don't even know.
You want to tread on those waters?
Well, no, I was gonna say the sister girl comes out sometimes.
That is funny.
North Gulfport.
No, you didn't.
Or like
my hometown.
Like she says, that North Gulfport comes out every now and again.
All right, yes.
Shout out to North Gulfport.
Shout out to North Gulfport. Yes.
Harrison Bulldog. Is it Bulldog?
It is Harrison Central Rebels, not Bulldogs.
I don't know. I thought it was the Bulldogs. Yes. Rebels. Okay.
Yes. Shout out.
All right.
Yes. Class of 1993.
So we're just saying that. Yeah, she old. No, I was just joking. But so we're saying that to say, look, you're gonna have issues. Mm-hmm. The key is, we always say this, the key is you got to talk about it.
You have to talk it through.
You have to let your spouse know, hey, when you came downstairs and told me you need to leave at 6:20, it made me feel some kind of way.
Right.
And then I can come back and say, well, I really, truly, genuinely wasn't trying to rush you or make you feel bad. I was just trying to tell you, if we're going to be there at this time, we need to leave by this time. Right. And that's all. And so because we were able to talk through this, because we were able to communicate often, openly, and honestly about everything, then we were able to work through that. And it wasn't after that, we went to Maplewood Burger. Shout out Maplewood.
Yeah,
Burgers.
It was very good. I was able to get a lettuce wrap burger.
Yeah, but I got awesome. It was good.
Yeah,
it was good. So if you haven't been, you need to go check out Maplewood.
So we
Burgers.
Had a little impromptu date. We got burgers. We went out to Prion Lake Park.
Walked in the park. Then we got coffee at Starbucks. Yep. Hung out. But if we would have, if that instance, that situation.
For some people, would have escalated to an entire argument and messed up the whole Friday night.
And here's the other thing is that argument could have been the trigger for all the other things that you didn't talk about the whole week, and you just kept suppressing, and you didn't use your pressure relief valve, you know, and it just boom, that triggers a whole thing. Now the girl's not going to youth conference, we're not going to date. Everybody's night is messed up.
Right.
So that's why it's so important that you have to learn how it's okay. Know that you're not gonna be feeling your spouse every day. And here's that we got a couple other notes here. That. You know, just because it happens, that doesn't mean that you're incompatible.
Right.
That doesn't mean that you shouldn't have got married. It also doesn't mean that you need to seek fulfillment outside of your marriage.
Correct. Absolutely not.
You know, just because you and your spouse had an argument, or that doesn't give you the right to go out and and fulfill that need somewhere else.
And oftentimes couples, that happens because their couples are feeling an emotional unattachment. They're not they don't feel emotionally connected. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times those small arguments grow into something bigger. Yeah. Escalates into something bigger.
So so another thing, I wrote this down here, that in marriage you bring all of your assets and liabilities today. A lot of times we don't want to talk about the liability.
That's good.
Like I know that I can be impatient. Mm-hmm. And that's a liability. That can be a liability, especially when I live in a house with 3 ladies.
Sorry.
I mean, we were at a hotel once and checking in, and I remember this guy, he was checking in, and he was like, "Sir, you can go ahead." I said, "No, I'm fine waiting." I forgot what he had said something, and no, I don't know. But basically, he found out that I told him I had my wife and my 2 daughters were waiting out in the car or something like that. That's what it was. He was. I told him to go ahead because I'm waiting on my wife and 2 daughters, and he turned to me. He said, "You probably used to waiting anyway." So, not to say that all women make you wait. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying it happens.
We have more things.
You'll have more things. They got hair and makeup.
We have hair. We have
and
makeup.
They got a look and anyway.
All the things have to be together.
But what was I saying? Oh, liabilities. So I'm not perfect. I have to understand that I'm not perfect. I have to understand that my wife is not perfect. I have to understand that, number one, that she loves me. And even though we may be having a moment right now, she still loves me. I know that at the end of the day, her heart is for me, and
Absolutely.
that, this is, and other thing is this, it sometimes it's not even you. Sometimes it's the outside influence. Maybe they had a bad day at work, and they come home and it's just, they're just, maybe your spouse is just not feeling it,
they needing a moment.
So just know that, your spouse is not perfect, and everybody has those moments to where you're gonna get angry, you're gonna get impatient, right. Your feelings are gonna get hurt.
Yes.
All those things are going to happen. Right. The key is, like we said earlier, is to learn how to work through those things. And the best way to do that is vulnerability and communication.
Yeah,
you have to be open and honest with your spouse and say, "Hey, when you said that, it made me feel this way," and so on and so forth.
Yeah. I had a thought. I want to do another show, not right now.
We're going to have to write all these shows down.
Yes, we are. Another
So we said emotional
intelligence and vulnerability, which actually can go together.
Okay.
Not the same show, but I'm saying the same span of shows. Okay. But another discussion on vulnerability.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to say I'm going to save it for the show. But remind me. Okay.
All right. So, man, I got so many more, and I know we're running short on time, but I just want to get some of these in, and I'll let you do your three ways to reconnect.
Okay.
Falling out of love. Look, falling out of love is a choice.
Yes, it is.
And a lot of times when people go through hardships or go through difficulties in marriage, they say, "Well, we fell out of love." Right. Well, first of all, love is a choice.
Right.
every day I make a choice to, because when you look at 1 Corinthians 13, it talks
Mm-hmm.
about love. It says love is patient, love is kind, love chooses to see the best in people.
Right. It's a decision.
It's a decision.
Right.
So even in those tough times, you have to choose to love your spouse. I'm going to choose to love you.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you roll your eyes at me or gave me the side eye or whatever, I'm still going to choose to love you. Even though I may have snapped at you,
Right.
you still have to choose to love me.
Right.
Love is a choice.
Right.
And if you fall out of love, you are choosing to do so.
Right. And that whole term, falling in love, and it sounds very romantic, you know, that, oh, they fell in love. But I mean, when you fall, usually you fall on accident. So it's like, you know, is love an accident? You know, it's not an accident. It's a choice. I chose to spend a lot of time with this person. I chose to get to know them better. You know, I chose to make investments, you know, in being emotionally connected with this person. You know, so it is still choice. It's choice driven. It is not something that happens accidentally.
That's right.
You can't say that, oh, I didn't mean to fall in love with this person, or oh, I didn't mean to have an affair.
And that's what I was going to say. People say, I didn't mean for that to happen.
But you invested time. You invested energy.
Here you go. You did what it took
right
for the affair to happen.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like saying, I didn't mean to lose weight. That doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen. I mean,
you don't do it on accident.
Right.
Or you could even say, and this is probably the better, I didn't mean to gain all this weight.
Exactly.
And even though your intent, listen to this, even though your intent was not to gain the weight, you did what was necessary to do it.
Exactly.
You stopped moving.
Right.
You ate more. You took in more calories than you expended.
Exactly.
And so, and I'm talking to, you know, that's what happened.
Yeah, we're going through our process. We already talked about
that. So I didn't mean to. I didn't wake up one day and say, you know what? I want to gain 20 pounds.
Right.
I didn't do that. So you don't wake up saying, you know what? I think today I'm going to have an affair.
Right.
Well, no. But you have to be able to recognize I'm making decisions that are going to lead me. If I'm spending this time with this other person, and I know that, you know, we're vibing and, you know, we have similar interests and, you know, all these things, maybe them and their spouse are having issues. And so we're just coming together to talk and console. You're making decisions that are going to lead to something that you don't want to experience. Yeah. So in all of that, just know that things are going to happen. You're not going to always, every day is not going to be sunshine. Right. And you're not going to have a Cosby show every day.
Right.
But I tell you what, we have more and I don't want to say Cosby, but we have more good days than we have bad.
Exactly.
And I think that's the key.
Yes,
that's the key.
Absolutely.
So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. But Tanya, Tanya's going to give you 3 ways to reconnect.
So if you're feeling disconnected from your spouse, you're feeling distant, you're feeling like, you know, there's a barge between the two of you, you know, you're lying in the bed together and you feel miles apart. You know, we want to talk about 3 ways that you can reconnect with your spouse. The first one that I want to talk about is accept opportunities to reconnect. Oftentimes, spouses give one another an opportunity to reconnect, and the other person basically shoves them off. They dishonor that opportunity. They don't pick up on the opportunity. So we need to make sure that we're paying attention. So for instance, you're sitting on the sofa, you're watching, you know, your favorite show, sports event or what have you, and your wife comes and she sits close to you. You know, don't just ignore the fact that she sat next to you and she's actually trying to make a connection of some sort. You know, not necessarily that she wants to interrupt your show, but if she does want to have a conversation, you might need to hit record on the DVR. Pause or what have you, you know. At least acknowledge her presence. Put your arm around her, you know, give her a kiss, you know, and ask her, you know, you're going to sit and watch this with me. But don't ignore the fact that she's come now and she is sitting with you and she's trying to make some sort of connection with you. For wives, if your husband walks in, you're cooking dinner, he may walk in and say, hey, can I do something? Oh, no, I got it. No, yes, absolutely, you can do something. Find a vegetable for him to wash, chop, a pot to stir, because what that is going to do is give you an opportunity to conversate. While you are doing this task together for the family, you can also have a conversation while you're doing that. That's building connectivity with your spouse. The second thing is understand each other's love language. Now, we talk a lot about love languages here on the show because we're learning how important it is to know your spouse's love language. And Glenn is showing you guys the book. If you don't have it, it's a great resource for you to pick up and gain some more insight on love languages. It's very easy to learn your spouse's love language, and it's something that you will do for a lifetime because we are always growing and changing. Sometimes that way that we communicate, receive, and love will change also. But asking them questions is the number one way to figure out what their love language is. How do you feel about that? What did you think about that? Last week, I noticed when I said this or I mentioned this, I noticed that you kind of shut down. What was that about?
I'll just take the quiz.
Yes, take the quiz.
See, I'm more the practical. We talk. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Take the quiz, but
that was another one that you weren't feeling me right there.
Not that I'm not feeling you, but it's more than the quiz.
Gotcha.
That's just the paper. You need to emotionally and physically, eyeball to eyeball, connect with your spouse and have conversation and communicate. That's what that's about. Okay? Back to communication. Openly, honestly, all the time about everything, right? The third thing is to build a culture of appreciation and respect. So sometimes we focus more on our spouse's flaws, or we focus more on the things that make us feel discontented with them. Instead of focusing on one, learn to accept their flaws, because remember, you're not perfect either. If that's news to you, I'm sorry. None of us are perfect, okay? So we have to learn to accept the other person's flaws, whatever those may be. We're accepting them for who they are. And we have to learn to build up the things that we cherish and appreciate about our spouse. And so if I know that, Glenn is probably one of the kindest human beings that I know. He's very giving. He's very loving. He goes out of his way for most people. So
most people. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So if I know that about him and recognizing that and letting him know that, honey, I really appreciate the way that you just have a heart for people. Communicating that, highlighting that, I noticed that, you did 2 loads of laundry today. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Great job. So finding ways to connect with your spouse, show your love and appreciation for them. I'm going to revisit those 3 things again to make sure you have them. 1, accept opportunities to reconnect. If your spouse is trying to engage with you in some form or fashion, don't ignore them. Don't blow them off. Take that moment to reconnect with your spouse. 2, understand each other's love languages. Take the quiz, ask questions, communicate openly and honestly all the time about everything, and build a culture of appreciation and respect. Because we all have flaws, none of us are perfect. So we have to learn to accept one another's flaws and to appreciate the things that our spouses do well and let them know that we appreciate those things.
All right. So there you have it.
So that's it, guys.
So just real quick, just always remember, guys, you can reach out to us several different ways. You can email us at info@marriagematterstous.com. You can send us a text message or a voicemail at 337-415-9535. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Our handle is @MarriageMatters0526. And always remember to subscribe to the YouTube page. And whenever you subscribe, remember to click the button so that you can get notified every time we post a video.
Yes.
So that's all we have for you today. So remember, look, guys, you will have days where you just not feeling it, man. And it's just not agreeing. It's not clicking.
Right.
But look, learn. Don't sweep those days under the rug.
Yeah.
Talk about it. Address the issues.
Absolutely.
Grow and get better. And every time you do that, you're going to grow a little bit closer in your marriage. So remember, this is Glenn and Tanya Coleman saying your marriage matters. We'll see you next week.
God bless y'all.